Hey guys, it is July the 5th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. I hope everybody had a nice, safe, and sober 4th of July yesterday as well. We didn't do too much. We just hung out here at the house, and there were people shooting fireworks off all around us. And I've talked about this, but we kind of live up on top of a hill. So we had an opportunity to just kind of see like a 360 view all around our house of other people shooting fireworks. We didn't want to shoot off a bunch of stuff back here in the woods just because, you know, there's a fire hazard, and with all the animals and stuff that we have here, you know, if one rogue firework went in the wrong direction and ended up in a pine tree or in the woods, and that pine straw is so flammable. You know, if one firework just, you know, shot off into the woods and hit that pine straw and we couldn't catch it in time, these woods would go up in flames so quick. And, you know, we live way back here. We live on a very long private road, and we are the last house on this road. There are 3 houses on this private road that we live on. And we're the last one, so there's really no way out of here for us other than the driveway to get out to the road. So if something was to happen back here, we would be in really big trouble. Now there are some like paths and stuff like that we have to get out, but if the woods were to catch fire, it would be a mess. And not to mention just our animals are all out here. And the guy that lives like the first house on the private road that we live on, last night, he was shooting off like the really big fireworks. And like, because I said we live up on top of the hill and he's down at the bottom of the hill. And when he was shooting those fireworks off, like when they exploded, they were like right at the top of the tree level up here. So, you know, we sat out last night and really were, you know, just watching to make sure nothing caught on fire. Our youngest son had some like sparklers and smoke bombs and stuff like that, but nothing that was like going to shoot off into the woods or anything. But we still had a nice time. We just hung out together as a family. And like I said, really, paid attention and made sure that nothing caught on fire out here, because there were a lot of people around us that were shooting off fireworks. And like I said, the guy right there at the bottom of the hill, he was shooting off like the really, really big ones. And we just sat out there just to make sure that nothing bad happened. But like I said, I hope everybody else had a nice, sober, and safe 4th of July yesterday. And, you know, the thing is that if in fact you relapsed yesterday for whatever reason, you know, it's not the most ideal situation, of course, but it's okay. And if it happened, you know, just pick yourself back up and try again. You know, that's the most important thing about this, is that, you know, we all fall down. You know, there's some of us that don't, you know, very small percentage of people that quit and they never look back. But for the majority of us, you know, we relapse, and it just happens. But, you know, just picking yourself up and trying again is the most important thing. You're not a failure if you just keep trying. You're a failure when you just stop and you just give up and you say, I'm not trying this anymore. But if you fall down, you keep picking yourself back up again. That's the most important thing about this. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. None of us are perfect. You know, we all make mistakes and things just happen. You know, alcohol or whatever the substance is, but alcohol, you know, it's a very addictive substance. And, you know, if you've been drinking for a long, long time, and, you know, like I talk about all the time, if you've been using alcohol as a way to handle your emotions or handle a bad day or even handle a great day, you know, when we're using alcohol or whatever substance it is, or an activity like gambling as a means to just get through our day-to-day life, and we've been doing that for 20 plus years or however long you've been drinking or using or doing whatever, it can be really hard to break those habits. And like I said, you know, 4th of July, like yesterday, is a tough day. You know, if you just recently got sober and you've drank every 4th of July for the last 30 years, you know, and you just made it 6 months and then relapsed last night, it's okay. Don't beat yourself up too bad about it. Just like I said, pick yourself back up and just try again. And if you fall down, pick yourself back up and try again. I've talked about it, but I must have quit and relapsed over 100 times. And it took me getting all the way to the point to where I almost lost my life until I finally said, enough is enough. And I still have to stay on top of my guard every single day because, like I said, I drank for so long and I used alcohol for every emotion under the sun. And I still have a hard time dealing with my emotions. Just earlier today, I got really upset about something. And I'm not going to get into what happened. And it had nothing to do with nobody in my family or anything like that. It was actually something really ridiculous, but it really upset me. And, it took me a little while to calm down. I got really upset. There was a lot of things going on during that period of time, too. My blood sugar had plummeted. I had sweat just dripping off of me. I was really shaky. I get really confused when my blood sugar gets really low, too. And my blood sugar got down to 40, and the arrow was still going down. So I got really scared because I get really afraid when my blood sugar gets that low. And we were out in town when it happened too. Dealing with diabetes already in itself is very, very difficult. There are so many different factors at play when you're trying to regulate your blood sugar. Time of day, whether it's hot or it's cold, how much physical activity you've done that day. If you've just been sitting around all day long, or if you've been doing a lot of physical activity, how much insulin you take, how many carbohydrates you're eating, whether you ate a lot of protein or didn't eat any protein. There are just so many factors. It is so hard to regulate your blood sugar with diabetes. And like I said just earlier, I hadn't really eaten anything all day long. All I'd had is a protein shake. We had been out and about doing things, and my blood sugar just dropped. And then something really upset me, and it was very, very difficult for me, and it took me a while to calm down. I just kind of had to separate myself from everybody and just give myself a few moments. I had to take a breather and just sit and just kind of think and focus and tell myself that everything is going to be okay, that there's no reason to get that upset, and just to calm down. And I had to get my blood sugar back up as well, so I had to drink a little bit of soda. I went and got a Coke and drank half of that, and then the next thing you know, my blood sugar is going through the roof. And then I'm trying to adjust, and then I tried to adjust and take some more insulin because I drank too much soda, and then my blood sugar started dropping again. So it was a pretty rough afternoon. But, like I said, I got really upset, and the first thing that popped in my mind was it'd be sure nice to have a drink right now. It would make all of this go away. But that's just not the right way to go. But like I said, I still think about it, and I would imagine that there are a lot of you out there who still think about it as well, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You can't control what goes through your mind, but the one thing that we can control is, if we relapse, is trying again. We can control that. We can keep trying. We can keep the hope and keep pushing forward. But anyway, now that I've gotten almost 9 minutes into today's video and I haven't even started talking about the actual topic for today, let's go ahead and get into that. So what I wanted to talk about today, first off, let me just talk about this really quick too. And I'm sorry, I know I said I was going to go ahead and get into today's video, but I did want to add this little tidbit right before we start. Right before I came out here to film today's video, and it's 7 o'clock right now, but right before I came out here to film today's video, my wife was looking at something online. I don't know how she came across this, but she found this post where this lady was talking about how she created a rock path, and it was her sober rock path. And I just thought that this was the neatest idea that I'd ever seen for sobriety. Well, I've seen some pretty cool ones, but I just thought this one was really neat. Supposedly, this lady was talking with her therapist about, some ways to help stay sober and things like that. And her therapist was telling her, like, you really need to have something like tangible, to show your sobriety. And I don't know how they got to the point where they decided to do this, but the lady decided to paint a rock for every single day that she's sober. So what she did is, I guess she got like a bag of, like river pebbles or something like that. But they're, like rocks like about that size, so like really round river pebbles. And each day that she makes it another day sober, she paints a rock. And like I said, I just think this is the coolest idea. So each day she's sober, she takes a rock, she paints it a different color. And then what she does with those rocks is she places them in a rock path. And I think what she's doing is she's like gluing them down or something like that. But she had this rock path that was like wrapping through her garden behind her house. And I don't know how many rocks that she had there. I'm not sure how much sobriety that she has, but she's got a lot because there's a full path that goes all the way through the back of her house through her garden. And it's all these different rainbow colored rocks that show her sobriety days. And I just thought that was the neatest thing because, like I said, it's something tangible. It's something that you can look at. And each day, you just take a rock and paint it a different color and then do whatever you want to with it. You could build a rock wall. You could take those rocks and glue them to something, maybe up on a wall. It could be anything. You could paint popsicle sticks every single day of sobriety, or maybe make a bead necklace. And each day that you're sober, you put a bead on it. There's lots of really neat things that you could do to show your sobriety days. But like I said, I just thought that was really neat that this lady created a rock path for each and every day sober. And each of them were different colors. And I just thought it was beautiful. I thought it was a great idea. And how neat would that be to go out there and walk through your garden every single day? And as you're walking down that path, each one of those rocks that you're stepping on represents another day sober. And as you walk through that path, you're going to see hundreds, if not thousands of rocks going through this path. And it's, going to make you think, each one of those rocks on this path right here was a day that I made it another day sober. Each one of those rocks was a battle. Each one of those rocks was a struggle. And at the beginning of the path, I would imagine that each one of those first rocks on that path was an even harder struggle. The beginning of sobriety is very, very difficult. But as you get down that path, 10, 15 feet down that path, and, you're hundreds of rocks down now at this point, each one of those rocks became a little bit easier to place. Each one of those rocks became a little bit easier to paint because those days were easier. Because as our sobriety, goes on, the further that we get out in our sobriety, the easier it gets. We're not thinking about drinking or using or whatever it is as often, and it's not on our mind as much. So like I said, the beginning of that path had to be very, very difficult. So as you're stepping on that path, you're reflecting on those beginning days of sobriety, and as you're walking down that path, you can reminisce and think, maybe you painted one of the rocks a rainbow color, and you could think, maybe that day of that rock that's painted rainbow was a very difficult day. Or maybe you paint the days that were really hard purple or green or whatever. And as you're walking down that path, you can look down and go, that was a difficult day right there. I remember that day. Or maybe you paint the days that were easier, pink or, light blue or something. And you could see those rocks and go, that was a little bit easier of a day. And it'll just bring, hope. And just remind you of the difficulties and the struggles that you went through to get to where you are. Like I said, I just thought it was a really neat idea, and I'm sorry that I just took up 5 minutes talking about that, but once again, I just thought it was really neat. So now that we are, I don't know how many minutes we are into today's video, we are actually going to go ahead and get into the topic that I wanted to discuss. And what I wanted to talk about today is not doing too much at once, not trying to quit too much at once. I would imagine there's a lot of people here on the channel, you know, that are just now starting to get sober. You know, maybe you're watching this video, this is the first time you've come across the channel and the first time you've seen one of the videos. You know, maybe you got wasted drunk last night and did something that you know, you regret, you wish you didn't do. And today you're like, you know what? I'm tired of this life. I want to get my life back in order and I'm ready to get sober. You know, maybe today is day one for you. Or maybe it's week one, or, you know, maybe you've got a month under your belt, whatever it is. But if you're brand new to sobriety, or even if you've been, you know, you've been in sobriety for quite a while, but you've relapsed recently, and maybe you drank for the past 6 months or whatever it is, this is what I wanted to talk about today, is not trying to quit too many things at once. Because it can become very overwhelming if you try to do so. And the thing is that in the beginning of our sobriety, you know, we can get really enthusiastic about what we're doing. You know, and as we, you know, let's say you start off day one, it's going to be really difficult. And then you get to day two and day three and day four. And after you get about a week, 2 weeks in, it starts to ease up just a tinge. It's not as difficult as day one, day two, day three. But you get to, like, let's say you get to 2 weeks of sobriety and you're starting to feel good. You're starting to feel better. You're waking up in the morning, you're not feeling hungover anymore. You know, your stomach starts to ease up and clear up a little bit. You know, you're not sitting on the toilet for 2 hours every single day with diarrhea. You know, things start to get back to normal again. You're not waking up with a hangover and a headache every single day. You're not waking up and throwing up every single morning. You're starting to feel better. You're starting to eat better. You're taking your vitamins every day now. You're drinking more water. Your skin looks brighter. You know, it's kind of like what I was talking about in yesterday's live. For any of you guys that watch Slayer Sober, I just saw a video of him the other day. He is looking fantastic. I mean, and I'm not trying to, like, you know, make Slayer Sober into, you know, I'm not trying to blow his horn or anything like that. I'm really trying to get the point across that how much better that he looks now. His skin is so bright. Just his face, he just looks happy. He looks healthy. He looks awesome right now. And that's my point, is that as you start to get into your sobriety, you start to look and feel better. And then all of a sudden, like I said, we start to get so enthusiastic. Now we want to start changing everything. We want to, you know, start eating better and doing all these different things. And that's what I want to talk about today. I don't want anybody to overwhelm themselves. You know, give it time. You know, if you're trying to quit drinking alcohol, let's say, and, you know, one of the things about drinking alcohol is, you know, alcohol and cigarettes go together like peas and carrots. I mean, they just do. I smoked and drank my whole entire life. You know, I could not have a cocktail without a cigarette in my other hand. And if I did have let's say I was in a bar and you couldn't smoke in there, if I was drinking, I walked outside at least, you know, 10 times in 2 hours to go out there and smoke, because a cigarette and a drink, you know, they were like a match made in heaven for me. And a lot of us that are drinkers also smoke or use tobacco products or nicotine pouches or whatever it may be. If you just recently quit drinking, you know, don't try to quit smoking at the same time. I mean, do whatever you want to do. It's your life. You know, I'm just throwing some suggestions out there. I wouldn't personally try quitting smoking and drinking at the same time, because it can be too much. Quitting drinking already in itself is so difficult to do. And I'm not saying, like, cigarettes are horrible for you. They are so bad for you. They raise your blood pressure, they cause cancer. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. They stain your teeth. They make you smell bad. You get nicotine stains on your fingers. They age you. They make your skin wrinkled. I mean, they're just not good for you. But the point of today's video is don't try to quit drinking and quit smoking at the same exact time. Maybe give yourself a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months even, before you attempt to try to quit smoking as well. Because like I said in the beginning, we can start getting really enthusiastic. We get really gung-ho. We start to feel awesome. We're not waking up feeling drained every morning. You start to wake up in the morning with energy again. You start to get that enthusiasm for life again. You get that pep back in your step. And we want to get our health back in order. We want to start doing everything that we can. We want to start eating better. We want to quit smoking. We want to start exercising. We want to start doing all of these things to, get our health back. But my point of today's video is that I personally wouldn't try doing too much at once. Now, did I quit smoking and drinking at the same time? I did. But I was already in the hospital. I ended up in the hospital because I had varices burst. And I was in the hospital for almost 3 weeks. When I got out of the hospital, it had already been almost 3 weeks. I hadn't had a drink or a smoke. And, they were really upfront with me about, not smoking and drinking and how bad smoking was for my pancreas. And I had just had pancreatitis and all these other problems. And like I said, I hadn't smoked in almost 3 weeks. And I wasn't drinking. And the smoking and the drinking really went hand in hand with me. I never was a big smoker if I wasn't drinking. When I woke up in the morning, I didn't smoke until probably about noon. Even if I woke up that morning and had my morning cocktail, I still didn't smoke until later on in the day because it would make me way too lightheaded. When I was hungover, I could not smoke a cigarette. They just were really gross to me. But as the day went on, later on, I'd smoke. But my point is that if I wasn't drinking, I really didn't want to smoke that much anyway. So it wasn't really, really difficult for me. Even though I'd smoked my whole entire life, if I wasn't drinking, I didn't really need to smoke that bad. And like I said, it had already been almost 3 weeks. So there really wasn't any point in going back. Did I think about smoking cigarettes? Absolutely. I still think about smoking cigarettes. When I'm out and about in town, if I'm at the gas station and I'm walking in the gas station to pay for my gas or something, and somebody's standing out in front of the gas station smoking a cigarette, it smells like heaven to me. I'm not even going to lie. I love the smell of cigarettes. I love the smell of pipe tobacco. I do not like the smell of cigars, but cigarettes, pipes, that kind of stuff, I like that smell. I smoked my whole entire life. But still, it just wasn't that difficult because I wasn't drinking anymore. But the point is that I don't want people to try to do too much at once and overwhelm yourself. And then before you know it, you've gotten to the point you're so overwhelmed, your emotions, they go crazy, and the next thing you know, you relapse, and then you're smoking a cigarette. And a lot of times too, we'll stop smoking and stop drinking at the same time. We have a bad day 2 weeks down the road. Next thing you know, it's a really bad day at work, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna have a cigarette. I have to have a cigarette right now. And you go to the store, you buy a pack of cigarettes, you light that one cigarette up, you smoke it, and before you know it, you're like, you know what? I already smoked now. And man, you know what else goes well with a cigarette? A beer. And before you know it, not only have you relapsed on smoking, but you've relapsed on drinking at the same time. I just don't want to see people trying to do too much at one time. And that can go with a lot of different things too. Because often we don't have just one vice. A lot of times we have more than one vice. And a lot of times those vices go hand in hand with each other. And I've just got a little list here of things like alcohol and cigarettes, broccoli and munchies or junk food. And when I say broccoli, I mean Mary Jane. You smoke some broccoli, and then what do you want to have after that? Some Doritos and some soda and whatever. Junk food and broccoli go together hand in hand. It's the munchies. video games and Mountain Dew or soda or something. You know, a lot of people that game, they like to drink sodas or energy drinks because they want to stay up all night long to play their game. Drugs and cigarettes go together. You know, most people that use any type of substance smoke as well. And I'm not saying that everybody does, but a lot of people do. You know, you get a buzz or whatever, and that cigarette and that nicotine helps up the buzz just a little bit more. So also, you know, soda and junk food together. You know, the two of those go together hand in hand. Also, gambling and drinking go together a lot of times. You know, if somebody likes to gamble and they go to a casino, a lot of times they'll drink while they're gambling. And the thing is that I just don't want to see people, like I said, overwhelming themselves. Pick one of the vices that's the most destructive to you. So if you're a drinker and a smoker, which one's the most destructive? Which one's causing you the most problems in your life? I would imagine that the alcohol is probably causing the most problems. You don't see a lot of, you know, people smoking a cigarette and then, you know, getting into a car accident, or smoking a cigarette and getting into a fight with somebody, or whatever it may be. You know, we do a lot of ridiculous things after we've gotten intoxicated. You don't make a lot of really bad decisions after you've smoked a cigarette. We just don't. Your mind is still with you. You still have, you know, you still have your mind about you if you smoked a cigarette. But if you drink, that's not the case. So like I'm saying, like, pick the one that's the most destructive. So if you smoke and drink, the alcohol is probably the most destructive in your life. Try quitting that one first after you've spoken with a doctor. I just want to throw that in here really quick again, that, you know, quitting alcohol or benzodiazepines abruptly can be life-threatening. Please speak with the doctor first before you try doing anything. Before you attempt getting sober, speak with the doctor and be 100% completely honest with them. Tell them how much, how often that you're drinking, so that they can make a decision how to progress forward. They might want to put you on a medical detox, they might want you to taper, or they might tell you just go ahead and quit cold turkey. I think everything will be okay. Or they might give you some medication to take home to help you through the withdrawals. But like I said, after you've spoken with the doctor and you're a drinker and a smoker, quit the alcohol first. Give the cigarettes a little bit of time. You know, you might need those cigarettes. And I'm not saying go out there and smoke a bunch of cigarettes, because that's not what I'm saying at all. I wouldn't smoke any cigarettes at all if I was you, because they're bad for you. But if you're going to do anything, you know, I wouldn't give up my cigarettes as I'm giving up my alcohol at the same time, because it can become overwhelming. And then you get to that point where you get so stressed out where you just snap, and then you go back and you do both. Same thing with gambling and drinking. You know, which one is the most destructive? Did you already blow through all of your savings account? But you're not a daily drinker. You only drink when you gamble. Well, gambling's probably the biggest one that you need to quit. Try giving up the gambling first, give it a little bit, and then, and the drinking will probably really slow down anyway, because the two of those go hand in hand. But just don't try doing too much at once. Same thing with, if you're a video gamer and, you're addicted to video games and you like to drink soda or Mountain Dew or Code Red or Coca-Cola or Monster Energy drinks or Red Bulls or whatever while you play video games. Which one is causing you the most problems in your life? Are you spending all of your time playing video games? Are you staying up all night long, 5 days a week? Are you playing video games 15 hours a day? Are you spending more time playing video games than you are, interacting with people, being social, spending time with your family, spending time with your friends? Have you become a recluse and you're just staying inside all day long playing video games, but you're drinking a bunch of Red Bulls and stuff like that? Well, if you stop playing the video games, you're probably not going to drink as many sodas and Red Bulls and stuff like that anyway. So quitting the video games first is probably going to be your first move, and then move into quitting drinking the sodas and stuff as well. But I just think that it's really important for us to decide which one is causing us the most problems in our life, and starting with that one first. I get it. I completely understand. You know, you quit drinking, you quit using broccoli, you quit whatever it is, you quit gambling, whatever it may be. You quit that, and then all of a sudden, like I said, you start to feel better. Things in your life start to improve. You really start to see the positive effects of what's happening because you quit this one thing. And then what do we want to do? Well, we want to go ahead and quit everything else. Let's go ahead and let's just go all in. Let's get our life completely back in order. You know, let's get healthy. Let's quit smoking. I already quit drinking, so I'm gonna quit smoking. I'm gonna quit eating junk food. I'm only gonna eat chicken breast and broccoli, 3 times a day, and egg whites, and all this kind of stuff. And you're only drinking water, and next thing you know, something bad happens, or you have a really great day one day. Because if you're anything like me, not only did you drink for the bad days, but you also really enjoyed drinking on the great days when things were going awesome, when you just got a raise at work, when, whatever it may be, whatever it is that makes your kids just got straight A's on their report card, or whatever it is. I drank for those occasions as well. If anything, I really enjoyed drinking on the positive days more than the bad ones, because it just made for a great day. How better to end the day after a great day than, a half a gallon of vodka. But back to my point, I just figure out which thing in your life, if you have multiple vices. If it's only one vice, then whatever, keep doing what you're doing, as long as things are working out for you and you're being healthy and you're being safe about it. But if you have multiple vices, don't try stopping all of them at once, because it really can become overwhelming. I tried that so many times back in the day, and that was one of the biggest mistakes that I always made, because when I tried to quit drinking, I would try to quit smoking. I would try to start eating better. I cut everything out of my life. Every enjoyable thing in my life, I cut it out. Because in my mind, I was thinking, well, I'm already getting sober. I'm starting to get healthy. Well, let's go ahead and go all in on this. And I'm really going to start getting healthy. Because I did. I started feeling so much better that I wanted to quit doing everything else. And, a day into it, if I even made it a full day, I would relapse. Because before you know it, something would happen. I would snap. I'd go grab one of my cooks and say, let me get one of your cigarettes really quick. And, they would run outside with me, especially if I had quit smoking or whatever, because, I've talked about this, but misery loves company. And, nobody liked the fact that I didn't smoke anymore, because I didn't go out there and hang out with my guys. So as soon as I told one of them, hey, let me get one of your cigarettes. Oh, they were, come on, let's go outside and smoke a cigarette. And, they were happy. They had me back. I'm back outside smoking with them again. And on top of it, they knew as well that, if I wasn't smoking, when they said, hey, do you mind if I go smoke? I might have been a little bit more keen to say no if I wasn't smoking. But if I was a smoker, they knew that if they said, hey, can I go smoke a cigarette? I go, yeah, I'll come join you. But back to my point, just don't try to do too many things at once, no matter what it is. And like I said, a lot of us, we don't just have one vice. We have multiple vices. Pick the vice that's the most destructive in your life, whatever that is. And I would imagine that for the majority of the people that are watching these videos, it's going to be alcohol for the, most likely. And, go ahead and after you've spoken with a doctor and you are thinking about getting sober, and they say taper down or quit cold turkey or let's put you on a medical detox, whatever it is, do that first. Give it some time. Settle into your sobriety first. Get comfortable with it. you know. And I hate saying this because I don't want people to go out there and, you know, do something that's going to be negative to their health, but just, I don't want to see people overwhelm themselves and then go right back to the drinking again. You know, just give the sobriety a chance first. Like I said, settle into it. Get comfortable with it. Get comfortable with having some great days. Get comfortable with having some bad days. Get comfortable with just having some mediocre days. Just get comfortable with your sobriety. You know, just kind of ride it out for a little bit. And after you feel somewhat comfortable in your sobriety, or whatever it is that you're trying to stop doing, after you've got some time in there and you feel comfortable that you might be able to go ahead and make that next step, then go ahead and make it. But do it in steps. Don't try to do too much at once like I used to always do. Like I said, I would quit it when I quit drinking. Not only did I quit drinking, but I quit smoking, you know, quit eating salt, quit drinking soda, only drank water, no more junk food. I didn't eat French fries, no more seed oils, you know, the whole shebang. You know, I'm not going to get on my phone as much as I did back in the past. I'm only going to spend an hour on my device every day. You know, I was doing too much, and I would never get far. You know, a day, 2 days into it, I would snap, and before you know it, I relapsed, and then I was right back into it full throttle. And the cycle began, because all it took for me to do was have one drink. That one drink led to 20 drinks. Before you know it, I finished a half of a gallon. Then I was waking up the next morning completely hungover, throwing up, head splitting. And what's the best thing for a hangover, or what was the best thing for a hangover for me, was another cocktail. So I went to a liquor store, got some more liquor, and like I said, the cycle started all back over again. Before you know it, it's been 6 months. I don't even know where the time went. I feel horrible. My health is right back out the window again. You know, I've gained 20 pounds. None of my clothes fit anymore. I feel completely bloated. My face is swollen. My eyes are bloodshot. I've got broken blood vessels in my eyes. You know, spider veins all over my face. I just feel like trash. And, you know, I'm looking back going, what happened? Why didn't I stay sober? And it was because I tried doing too much at once. So anyway, that was my point for today's video. It's just, I just wanted to talk about that, especially for the people that are new here, or the people that are new to sobriety. Like I said, for most of us, we have multiple vices. Don't do too much at one time, or I wouldn't try doing too much at one time. You do whatever you want to do. It's your life. Yeah, I just have a lot of experience with relapsing and, you know, trying to quit again. And each time that I would try to quit, I always tried quitting too many things at once. I never could just focus on the one thing. I never could say, I'm just going to stop drinking. I always had to do everything, because that's just the way my personality is. I'm an all or nothing type of person. It's either all the way or nothing. And that's the way I always went into sobriety, was I'm going to quit everything right now, and then I'd fall right back down on my face again. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching today. And thank you so much to everybody that joined in on the Sober Live 4th of July party yesterday. That was an awesome time. It really, really was. It was so cool hanging out with you guys, getting to meet a whole bunch of you. I found out there's another LD in the community. Her last name is D'Angelo. I think it was Lorraine D'Angelo, maybe. But her last name was D'Angelo. But anyway, we have another LD. She's LD number 2. I'm LD number 1. But it was really nice getting to meet all of you guys yesterday, the ones of you that I haven't met before. And I just had a really good time hanging out with you guys. And it helped me just as much as people told me it helped them. So I really enjoy you guys hanging out with me and helping me stay sober yesterday. It was really cool. So thank you so much for watching today. I really do appreciate it. And thank you so much to everybody that's here. This community is building bigger and bigger every single day. And I have no one to thank but each and every single one of you. So thank you so much to each and every single one of you. I love each and every single one of you so much. And until tomorrow, I will see you all then. Y'all have a great rest of your night.